Do you want to explain, I guess, how are you thinking about this idea of the super cycle? This idea that it's not going to be like a big drawdown, or that it might the idea of 4 year cycles might be gone. How do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I think you're very right that the greed and fear is something that maybe is the best argument against the super cycle, because that will not go away. And indeed, I think we will not we will not have a super cycle this halving cycle. So next year or until 2024, before next halving, um, because of greed and fear, because there will be FOMO. Once we hit the 100,000, maybe we'll go down a little bit, but once we really have crossed that 100,000 line, then I think the FOMO will set in, and people will just buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will go up to unimaginable levels. But then some people will start to sell. They're sitting on a huge profit, and they want to see some of it. In dollars, or they get scared, or something happens that scares the whole lot, and then we go south again, and then that will feed on each other, on itself, the fear, and we'll have momentum to the downside, going to the next bottom. I think that's something in markets that is so fundamental that will not go away. That having said, most people that are proponents of the supercycle are technical people, or have some experience in investing in tech companies like Google and Amazon. And what we've seen in those prices is that there is a lot of volatility in the beginning after the IPO, because there's a lot of uncertainty about company succeeding and adoption for the product kicking in. But once the adoption kicks in, it goes up in an almost straight line with some volatility, but not the volatility you see after the IPO. So I think a lot of tech investors have that mental picture, and they think Bitcoin will do the same thing. I don't think that is true, because I don't think Bitcoin is a company like Google and Amazon. I think the volatility in Bitcoin, which has been very high and still is very high. If you look at option prices, the implied volatility is around 100%, so between 90 and 100%, which is huge. That's you can't see that in any other market. So a lot of risk slash volatility in Bitcoin market, and that is also, of course, where the return is coming from. You cannot have a high return without the volatility. So I think it's something. So volatility is something that is not found in any other markets anymore in the same way it used to be. So, for example, equity markets seem to be going up without any volatility, which is also logical because of all the money printing. Same for real estate prices, up. But the volatility has to go somewhere. The risk has to go somewhere, and central banks cannot print the risk away. So we're seeing the risk sort of coming back in a concentrated way in Bitcoin. That's how I see it, and that's why we have this extremely high returns as well. If you can stomach this volatility, you can reap the profits of the what is it, to 100% returns almost on average for Bitcoin annually. So I think the super is a very interesting concept, but it's the greed and fear stands in between. And what I do see once Bitcoin hits the stock to flow is a scarcity level of higher than anything else on the planet, higher than real estate, with a stock to flow ratio of 100. Once we hit that, and Bitcoin becomes the most scarce asset in the on the planet, I think that could be the moment when hyper Bitcoinization or the super cycle will kick in a way that it's so much better than real estate and gold and all the other assets that everybody will buy it, and it will probably be the de facto money at that time. So we'll probably, if you look at for example, the stock to flow model at the moment, it uses Bitcoin prices expressed in dollars, because dollar is the world's reserve currency. Everything is expressed in dollars. But once Bitcoin hits that 100 stock to flow ratio of 100 and becomes the best money, in fact, in the world, I guess it's time to price everything in Bitcoin, and the dollar will be less at that time. But that's after the next halving, and probably not before 2025, 26 or something. But I could see a hyper-Bitcoinization in that sense, a super cycle in that sense, that Bitcoin becomes the de facto money and the denominator of all things valuable. I could see that, but later on.
Yeah, I see. So you see it more like not this cycle, but potentially next. But then what about this idea that maybe 4-year cycles are gone, and actually we might still have cycles up and down, but just not 4-year ones? That, I guess, now to spell out or flesh out that argument, it might be that, okay, the number of new coins coming in now is not that big of a deal, and it's actually more about what the OG or older hodlers or longer time hodlers are doing with their stack than it is about the incoming new coins that are coming in as part of the block subsidy every 10 minutes. What's your view on that?
Yeah, I don't agree with that view. I think that's I understand the view, as in, and most technical people are having that view. And indeed, the amount of new Bitcoins, or the percentage of new Bitcoins, is getting less and less of a factor in the market. But I don't think that is you have to look at it from the other way. And that's also in line with stock to flow view of things, that you have to view it like an investor. An investor has alternative investments: gold, real estate, equities, etc., and Bitcoin. And the fact that when Bitcoin halves, it's the stock to flow ratio will double, and it will put Bitcoin next to real estate by then, and next to gold by now. So people are really comparing it to gold right now because it's as scarce and as gold. That's how I view it. So the fact that it's only very little new Bitcoins coming in the market, and less, by the way, every halving, and that the impact, for example, of exchanges selling their fees is bigger than that, or miners not even selling, but being fully funded through their shareholders, and not having to sell their coins for electricity costs. Those are all maybe bigger factors in the market, but I look at it from the other way, so from the investor way. They're just scouting for scarce assets, and right now Bitcoin is comparable to gold, and it will be comparable to real estate, and that will be a big change in the eye of the investor. All the bulls and bear markets are different always. They're never exactly the same, but yeah, I think we go up. The bull run isn't finished yet, and it will go beyond the 100K level towards, 200, 300. In last bull markets, the Bitcoin price went up 2x or 3x or sometimes even more above the stock to flow levels. So yeah, we could see 300K Bitcoin. That would not surprise me. But after the next all-time high, fear will kick in, and we will see lower Bitcoin price. And I guess that will lead to there will be a trigger that triggers that fear and that downward movement. And that could be a government thing. It's mostly a government thing. That could be it could be anything. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But it could also be just a very short bear market this time, only half a year or 1 year. It doesn't have to be multiple year, but yeah, it could be. It could be that 2022 is a bull year. 2022 is a bull year. So next year, another bull run. 2023 is a bear market. 2024 we'll stay in the bear market, and 2025 will go up again. I wouldn't be surprised to see that.